Your cat walks into the room, tail raised, one short meow, a slow blink, then it rubs against your leg and walks away. Simple, right? Maybe not, because your cat has been talking to you all day, through its voice, eyes, tail, body, even the way it touches you. The problem is, we keep translating the wrong language. A purr doesn't always mean happiness. A meow may exist largely because you're there, and some of the quietest behaviors can reveal the most about how your cat sees you. Welcome back to Wild Unknown. Today we're finally asking, what is your cat actually trying to tell you? Your cat stands beside the food bowl. Meow. You walk toward the kitchen. Meow. You close a door. Meow. You come home. Another meow. It feels obvious. Cats meow. Except, adult cats don't normally use meowing with one another the way they use it with humans. Cats have other communication systems: posture, touch, facial signals, and especially scent, a language humans are remarkably bad at detecting. Kittens do meow to their mothers. But as cats mature, that behavior usually becomes much less important in cat-to-cat communication. Around humans, however, it can continue. And that's where things get fascinating. Your cat has learned that sound works on you. A meow can bring attention, open a door, start dinner, or make a human abandon whatever they were doing and ask, "What do you want?" But don't imagine every meow has a universal translation. Individual cats develop their own vocal patterns, and research suggests owners can be somewhat better at interpreting their own cat than unfamiliar cats. So maybe your cat isn't speaking cat. Maybe the two of you have slowly built a tiny language that only works inside your relationship. And if that's surprising, wait until your cat starts purring, because the sound humans trust most may be the one we misunderstand most often. There are few sounds more comforting than this. A cat curled beside you, eyes half closed, body relaxed, that low vibration filling the room. Purring means happiness, right? Often, yes, but not always. Cats can purr when they're comfortable, being petted, resting somewhere familiar, or simply enjoying themselves. But cats can also purr in very different circumstances: when anxious, when frightened, when sick, even during physically stressful situations. That changes everything. Because a purr isn't necessarily a happiness meter. Sometimes context matters more than sound. Think about nervous human laughter. We laugh when something is funny, but some people also laugh when they're uncomfortable. Same sound, completely different emotional situation. Cats can even produce what researchers have called a solicitation purr, a purr containing a higher frequency component that can make it particularly difficult for humans to ignore when the cat wants something, such as food. So next time your cat purrs, don't just listen. Look. Is the body loose, eyes soft, ears comfortable, or is the cat tense, crouched, uncomfortable, or somewhere stressful like the veterinarian? Because your cat isn't communicating with one sound at a time, it's communicating with its entire body. And nowhere do humans make that mistake more often than with the tail. Tail straight up, happy. Tail moving, angry. Tail tucked, scared. If only cats were that simple. The tail absolutely carries information. A high tail can appear in friendly social situations. A tightly held tail may accompany anxiety. Rapid or forceful movement can appear with agitation. But here's where we go wrong. We read the tail and forget there's a cat attached to it. Imagine someone smiling. Are they happy? Probably. Unless their arms are crossed, their body is rigid, and they're staring at you like you've just said something terrible. One signal cannot tell the whole story. Neither can your cat's tail. Look at the ears, eyes, muscle tension, posture, fur, movement, and what was happening immediately before the behavior. A moving tail on a relaxed cat watching something interesting is not automatically the same message as a thrashing tail on a tense cat whose ears are flattened backward. Humans often go wrong by isolating individual signals instead of reading the animal as a whole. Your cat isn't sending emojis. It's sending sentences. And once you start reading the whole animal, something as ordinary as your cat rubbing against your leg begins to look completely different. Because that isn't necessarily just asking for attention. Your cat may be leaving something behind. You come home. Your cat approaches. Its cheek brushes your hand. Its body slides past your leg. Maybe it bumps its forehead against you. Cute? Absolutely. But there's another conversation happening here, and your nose probably can't detect any of it. Cats live in a world of scent far richer than ours, and rubbing is connected not only with friendly social behavior, but also with scent communication. Body rubbing and face bumping can be associated with friendliness, closeness, and sharing scent. Think about how strange that is from our perspective. Humans recognize family with faces and voices. Cats can build familiarity partly through a chemical world floating almost completely beyond our senses. So when your cat repeatedly rubs against familiar people or objects, there's more happening than pet me. It's participating in a social environment that smells familiar, safe, known, home. And that may be one reason we misunderstand cats so often. We keep waiting for them to communicate like dogs, or worse, like humans. If you're enjoying discovering the side of animals most people overlook, subscribe to Wild Unknown. Because understanding animals sometimes begins by realizing how much we're unable to perceive. And the next signal is even quieter. No meow, no purr. Sometimes, your cat barely moves at all. Humans like obvious affection. A hug, a greeting. Someone running toward us because they're happy we're home. Cats can be quieter. Sometimes the most important thing your cat does is nothing dramatic at all. It stretches out, its muscles loosen, its eyes soften, its body stops looking ready to react. That matters because body language is one of the major communication channels cats use. A relaxed, stretched-out cat can signal comfort. A low, crouched cat may be frightened. A tense body, raised fur, and defensive posture tell a completely different story. And this gives us a better way to think about eye signals, too. People love turning individual cat behaviors into dictionary definitions. One movement equals one emotion. But cats don't work like that. A soft gaze means more when the body is soft, too. Relaxed ears mean more when everything around them says the cat feels secure. The whole animal gives you the context. And perhaps that's the secret to understanding cats. Stop demanding translations word by word. Pay attention to the conversation. Because once you do, one of the oldest stereotypes about cats begins to fall apart. We call them distant, independent, aloof. But what if they aren't emotionally distant at all? What if we've simply been looking for affection in the wrong language? You leave the living room, your cat appears in the hallway, you go upstairs. Somehow, it's upstairs too. You enter the bathroom and close the door. Suddenly, this independent animal has very strong opinions about privacy. It's easy to turn that into a joke. But underneath it sits a much bigger question. How attached are cats to us? For years, dogs received enormous attention for their social relationships with humans, while cats carried a reputation for being more distant. But research challenges that simple stereotype. In one attachment study using a secure base style test, cats were observed with their caregiver, separated, and then reunited. The findings suggested that cats can form meaningful attachment relationships with their human caregivers. That doesn't mean following you always translates to, I love you. Your cat might expect food, play, a door opened, or simply want to know what you're doing. That's the entire lesson of this video. Context matters. But independence and attachment are not opposites. A cat can want space and still care where you are. It can disappear for hours, then choose the chair beside yours. Maybe cats weren't failing to show affection. Maybe humans were expecting affection to look like a dog. And that brings us to perhaps the quietest signal of all. Because there's one moment when an animal built to stay aware of its surroundings has to stop watching. It has to sleep. And where your cat chooses to do that can tell you something worth noticing. During the day, your cat seems to notice everything. A sound outside, a movement behind the window, a bag appearing from nowhere, something invisible in the corner that apparently requires 30 minutes of staring. Then eventually, the house becomes quiet, and your cat sleeps, maybe beside you, at your feet, on the sofa nearby, or inconveniently in the exact center of your bed. We should be careful here. There is no universal rule saying that every cat sleeping near a person is making one specific declaration of love. Cats choose resting places for many reasons. Warmth, comfort, routine, familiarity, and individual preference all matter. But look at the larger pattern we've uncovered. Cats communicate through context. They rub against familiar companions. They can form attachment relationships with caregivers. And relaxed body posture is associated with feeling comfortable and secure. So perhaps the most meaningful question isn't, what does this exact sleeping position mean? It's, what does my cat repeatedly choose when it has other options? That's where communication becomes personal. Your cat's language isn't only meows and tails, it's patterns, the places it returns to, the routines it builds around you, the moments when it approaches, and the moments when it feels comfortable enough to simply stay. Maybe that's why no translation app will ever tell the entire story, because understanding your cat isn't about translating one sound, it's about learning one individual. A meow, a purr, a moving tail, a head against your hand, a quiet place beside you at night. None of these signals means exactly the same thing every time. And maybe that's the point. Your cat isn't a puzzle with 7 answers. It's an individual you've been learning, one day at a time. So tonight, don't just listen to your cat. Watch the whole conversation and tell me in the comments, what's one thing your cat does that you've never fully understood? We may explore your answers in a future episode. And if you want to keep discovering what animals are really telling us, subscribe to Wild Unknown. Because sometimes the animal was never being mysterious. We just hadn't learned how to listen.